And we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time when though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right, so we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people, struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time when though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right, so we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people, struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know, we gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere, make no mistake. Cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time when night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people, struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know, we gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere, make no mistake. Cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one rice, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time on night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people, struggle is with struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know, we gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere, make no mistake. Cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time on night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one karage, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is with struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time on night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people. Struggle is with struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time on night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. We are a peaceful people, struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know, we gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here, and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere, make no mistake. Cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, daytime or night. Though we may criticize it, this is our home, we love it, and we need to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. So we ain't giving up no mountains, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass.
Honorable members, the Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. Please be seated. The House will resolve itself to the committee. Honorable members, we seem to have had an extended lunch break. Having had that, I'm sure we're going to be well equipped to move faster. Honorable members, can we turn to pages 134 and 135? And we propose a question that the sum stated for Agency 9, Public and Police Service Commission, Program 91, Public and Police Service Commission's current expenditure stands part of the estimate. Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Thank you, sir. Sir, line item 6323, lump sum 151,505,000. Can the Honorable Minister say how many staff is in the Public Service Commission?
Honorable Minister. Microphone, please.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. The staff of the Public Service Commission is 60 members of staff. This is public and police, sir. 60 members of staff.
Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Sir, can the Honorable Minister say if any of these staff are contracted employees?
Honorable Minister.
There are 2 contracted employees, 2 are drivers.
Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Thank you, sir. Sir, may I ask what are the ages of these 2 contracted employees?
Honorable Minister.
60 years and above, sir.
Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Sir, may I ask if the Honorable Minister can answer if the Public Service Commission, Public Police Service Commission will endeavor to employ younger drivers on the pensionable establishment when the contract of the senior staff, 2 senior staff comes to an end, or will they renew those very contracts?
Honorable Minister.
I believe that that's not a question we can answer. That's for the commission, the Public Service and Police Service Commission, to determine those issues. And apparently those service commissions, chaired by Mr. Summersall and Mr. Slow, made that decision to hire and put them on contract.
Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Thank you, sir. Sir, of the 60 staff members, are there persons that are acting in other positions? And are there persons that are receiving a duty allowance for the performance of additional functions in the Police Public Service Commission?
Honorable Minister.
Right, there's one person who is receiving an acting allowance, that's the accountant, and all the registry staff are receiving a duty allowance. And personnel are receiving duty allowances, sir.
Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Sir, can the Honorable Minister say if the Police Public Service Commission is in the process of filling those vacancies, and if so, how far are they in the process to fill those vacancies?
Could you advise what vacancies you're speaking of, sir?
Sir, the vacancies that exist, the Honorable Minister said that there is one person that is acting in a position, and there are persons that are receiving duty allowance, which means they are performing additional duties, and to my estimation, that would mean that there are existing vacancies. I am guided, sir.
It seems to be there's only one person who's acting, sir. Duty allowance is for persons working who are already appointed, who are receiving additional financial support to do with additional responsibilities or longer hours, etc. Beyond the call of duty, in other words.
Sir, well, my question is directed to the one person that is acting.
Member.
Thank you, sir.
I'm advised it's a work in progress, sir.
Sir, can the Honorable Minister say how far has the process gone thus far?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
No, I cannot answer that, sir.
Honorable Member Mr. Mahi.
Sir, when the commission is when the commission sets up a disciplinary tribunal and the public servants are given that duty to carry out that additional function, are they compensated for it? Are they given an honorarium to perform the duties of being members on a disciplinary tribunal?
Honorable Minister.
I believe those questions are questions you should direct to me as a minister outside of the budget process.
Honorable Minister, you want to answer that though? This is a lump sum, and being a lump sum, I think it allows some amount of latitude in querying the policies for which the lump sum is assigned. Honorable Minister? No?
No allowances are paid for disciplinary tribunals, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member Mr. Mahi.
Sir, is the Honorable Minister confirming that public servants are given additional responsibilities, especially in the case of serving on disciplinary tribunals, without any compensation? I'm trying to ascertain if that is accurate.
Honorable Minister.
I repeat, duty allowance is for work beyond the call of duty. The tribunal members do not receive an allowance or honorarium, etc.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you. Honorable members, I would now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 9, Public and Police Service Commission, Program 91, Public and Police Service Commission, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Can we now turn to page 627? And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 9, Public and Police Service Commission, Program 91, Public and Police Service Commission's capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Honorable Member, I now put the question. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahi.
Sir, I'll appreciate just 1 minute to find the page in the
I will bear with you, sir.
in the ledger.
We can help you with some sticky notes.
Sir, this project entails provision for furniture and equipment. May I ask for a breakdown of the furniture and equipment that will be purchased?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Maripol. Photocopier, 1.2 million for the personnel department. 7 computers to replace unserviceable computers in the personnel department. Scanner, $800,000 for the use in the IT department. Air conditioning unit 1, $120,000. Executive chairs 2 at $106,000. L-shaped executive desk 1 at $75,000. 1 desk, $58,000. That's for the IT department. The L-shaped executive desk is for the procurement officer. Filing cabinets for the use in the registry department, $156,000. Printers, unserviceable printers with the accounts and personnel departments. There are 2 listed there. Visitor chairs for the use by visitors. Water dispenser, used by visitors. Coffee table for use within the secretary's department. Refrigerators, you have 2 listed at $116,000 to replace unserviceable refrigerator within the personnel and IT departments. Paper shredders, 2 for use in the PPO department, microwave to be used in the lunchroom for the staff, bookshelf, one for the use of the legal officer, and stand fan for the use within the accounts department, totaling $4 million, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, I put the question that the sum stated for Agency 9, Public and Police Service Commission, Program 91, Public and Police Service Commission's capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister and your staff, for taking us through that agency. Honorable members, we now turn to pages 138 and 139. And I propose a question that the sum stated for Agency 10, Teaching Service Commission Program 101, Teaching Service Commission current expenditure stands part of the estimates. I now put a question. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you, sir. I'll allow the teachers to go first. On this line item, sir, there is rental and maintenance of buildings that has increased from 7.9 million in 2020, revised 7.9 to 40 million in 2021. Can the Honorable Minister provide some additional details on that?
Honorable Minister. Microphone, please.
There's no rental, money for rental buildings. Under this heading that you refer to deals with rental and maintenance of buildings. It is 7.41, I believe, that has been put in the budget. It's repairs to the entire roof and ceiling of the building, as well as east and external walls of the building, which are in deplorable state. As you know, the building is very old. Oh, because we're dealing with heads, Mr. Patterson, sorry. 6 million is for janitorial services.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, I now put a question.
No, sir.
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Thank you, sir. I see there maintenance of other infrastructure. What is the other infrastructure that we will be maintaining?
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I didn't hear the question. Could you
On the maintenance of other infrastructure, what does that entail?
Mr. Chairman, that includes the cages for the repairs of the perimeter fence of the compound and the repainting of the fence. Smythe Street and behind the building needs replacement concrete mortar and in some cases replace bricks and repainting. So it's $2 million allocated for that.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Thank you, sir. Sir, may I ask the staff complement of the Teaching Service Commission?
Honorable Minister.
The staff is 38, and you have the chairman, deputy chair, and the 3 members making up the rest of persons that are catered for in the budget.
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Sir, of the 38, can the Honorable Minister say how many of these staff are contracted employees?
Honorable Minister.
There is 1 person.
Honorable Member Mr. Manipal.
Sir, may I ask the age of the staff member?
Honorable Minister.
I am advised that the person is 60 years old, sir.
Honorable Member Mr. Manipal.
Sir, may I ask
You want
if...
my age too?
Pardon? Sir,
Honorable Minister.
sir, may I ask of the 38 staff, are there staff that are acting in any position?
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
I am advised that 5 persons are acting.
Honorable Member.
Sir, may I ask if the Teaching Service Commission has begun the process to fill those 5 vacancies?
Honorable Minister.
A work in progress. As you know, the Teaching Service Commission expired on February 21st, 2021, but the work is in progress by the staff.
Honorable Member.
Sir, may I ask what is the salary and other emoluments, other benefits and so on for the commissioners of the Teaching Service Commission?
Honorable Minister.
Yes. The chairman receives 393,605. No allowance. So deputy chairman is 200,566, and the 3 members each receive $106,516. There are no allowance. No allowances are given to the commissioners on the Teaching Service Commission, sir.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member.
Sir, is there a difference between a commissioner that is serving as a full-time commissioner and a part-time commissioner in terms of their salary?
Honorable Minister.
There is no full-time member of the commission. None are full-time members.
Honorable Member.
Sir, can the Honorable Minister say how many vehicles are assigned or are attached to the Teaching Service Commission?
Honorable Minister.
And they have 3 working vehicles, sir.
Thank you, honorable members. I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 10, Teaching Service Commission, Program 101, Teaching Service Commission, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, we can turn to page 628, capital expenditure for Teaching Service Commission. Honorable members, I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 10, Teaching Service Commission, Program 101, Teaching Service Commission, capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now... Honorable Member Mr. Mahipla.
Sir, would the Honorable Minister be kind enough to give us a breakdown of the line item 25,00800?
Honorable Minister.
Sir, yes, you may be aware the Teaching Service Commission has online application, has introduced that. And so The main items under the 4 million are to support that activity. They have a chrono scan at 326,000, a scanner 326,000, a server 1,628,000, and this is to facilitate, and this is equipment to allow to have a linkage to the 20 computers where the online application would be received. They also have a network, attached storage, what's called an NAS, at $1,085,000. So the 4 items I've just read are the key ones and the ones that are absorbing the largest amount of money under the 4 million. They have smaller items like a printer, 4 printers at 75,000 for the IFMAS computers where they don't have any, and for the chairman and secretary's office and for the personnel department. They have 4 executive chairs to be used in the registry department and 1 for the confidential secretary to his secretary, and a desk of $135,000, which they call the IFMAS desk, which is defective, shaky, and falling down. And so it's a very modest budget by the Teaching Service Commission, but I want to just use the opportunity to applaud them for moving in the direction of online application, which will really facilitate people, especially in the rural and hinterland areas where they have access to Wi-Fi.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 10, Teaching Service Commission, Program 101, Teaching Service Commission, capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now forms part of the estimates. Honorable members, we now turn to the next agency. Let me thank the Honorable Minister and her team for taking us through that head. And we now turn to pages 142 and 143. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the sum for Agency 11, Guyana Elections Commission, Program 111, Elections Commission, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
Mr. Chair, same line item, sir, but I'm at page 812. Can the Honorable Minister generally disaggregate what is catered for on this budget of $4 billion in 2011? 2021, sorry, this year.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Patterson's a rather unusual question in that Appendix T on page 8112 has the breakdown of how you reach $4,041,998 under the current budget and 120 million. So in the Appendix T, you have the heads listed. You may not have the details, but you have the list of wages and salaries, other charges, etc. You want me to read this charge to you, sir? Right, that's what I thought. You wouldn't want me to read this because it's printed in the House.
Mr. Chair, let me be more direct, sir. On the where under this budget is under recurrent charges is the cost for, let's start, local government election.
Yes, thank you, sir. There are several heads under which local government elections are reflected. If you just give me a minute, because it's rather long, sir, that if you go to other charges, Mr. Patterson,
Honorable
Honorable
Comrade.
Comrade, no, he's honorable, both are wrongly placed. Other current charges, we have here several heads under other current charges, just let me get my thing in order. We have under 6284, we have also, just give me a minute, please. Print and non-print. We have, under print and non-print, you have $237.7 million. This is for printing materials for local government elections. This would be related to a number of issues with, sorry, 237,760 under print and non-print, right? Then you have also under fuel and lubricants, you have 32,861 for the fleet of vehicles, ATVs, etc., that would be used in the new vehicles they've acquired to do with local government elections. So that's to cover the fuel and lubricants. I'm advised by GCOM that in local government, because there are smaller numbers of polling stations, 1,700 versus 2,339, that the fuel costs, etc., are less. Some of the costs are less. In terms of rental of buildings, Mr. Honorable Member, 81,678 is for local building to provide a place for staff, voters, and the public to conduct these transactions, which would include a number of activities relating to elections, I guess registration, etc. This includes 17 buildings and polling stations, which they may include that are private, and you have to pay rent for those private buildings. Also under, let's see, then you have, I'm getting there, take it easy. Then you have under local travel and subsistence, 75,609,000. This is for meals and subsistence for permanent and temporary poll staff during the conduct of the poll. That was 2020. Similarly for local government elections. But the numbers would be the staffing for the 1,700 polling stations. You also have here postage, telex, and cablegrams. This is related to local government elections, $9,099,000 in regards to the regular distribution of ID cards as against publishing names and sending registered mails as obtained in 2020. So they're trying to deal with the level of ID cards still not collected. And that's seen as a preparation for elections. They also have, sir, under 6265, they have rental of boats, cars, planes for charters, and also to conduct elections. And these are for the DROs and the ROs to do with their transportation costs in regards to local government elections. We're not finished yet, I don't believe. Telephone charges, sir, 26,445,000. The increase that they've been given has to do with purchasing of minutes for each of the presiding officers, and field staff. They have an allocation of approximately 3,000 minutes. What did I say? 3,000 minutes? No, $3,000 for the presiding officer and field staff. electricity charges, that's not directly to do with it, but they have not increased the security, etc. If they, I understand if they feel that there's a threat, they would do so. The issue of some of the figures that they have for cleaning and extermination may be used too at the registration offices in preparation for local government elections and additional materials to protect the staff and the persons working there. Under other, this would be normal things be 6284. They have 285,782. This is elections, voter education. What did I say? 285,782. 100 million of this is set aside for voter education. The balance would be for things like rental of tents, rental of containers, charters, that kind of thing. And that's, I think, about it.
So before I give my,
Honorable member.
sorry, Mr. Chair, before I allow other members, I know they want to ask. I want to ask the Honorable Minister the same question that was asked before.
Can I just interrupt? I missed something, so I don't want to be accused of not adequately answering a question.
Honorable Minister,
If you'd allow me. Under refreshments and meals, you have 89,121,000. And again, this is election day staff meals for the local government elections at a calculation of 1,700 for staff at 1,700 polling stations. They average at 5 members of staff per station, and this would be meals for the local government elections. And also, before I'm forgetting again, you have 557,589,000 for stipends for the assistant chief scrutineers, the deputy scrutineers who have been had an increase, and polling day staff. And that again goes back to the 1,700 times 5. Right? So, have I forgotten anything else? Oh Lord. Training, training and scholarship. They have here a number of, they have 135,744 election-day staff training. They anticipate training 8,500 persons, approximately 18 million for the training of the staff, as well as depending on some policy decisions that are made by the Commission, they may require additional training, which I can't answer because the Commission hasn't made a decision yet. And that's, now I'm finally reached the end of that issue of local government elections, so I'm sorry about that before.
Right, Mr. Chair.
Honorable member, please.
Yes. Can I ask the honorable member before I cede to someone else? Can she list the salaries and benefits of the chairman and commission of GTAC?
Honorable Minister.
I know that the total of the chairman and the commissioners come up to 59,202,000, but you want the breakdown. So if you'll give us a minute. The chairman, let's see. 2 million. I'm quite satisfied with the people. Cool it, Mr. Maipal, cool it. Just cool down. You know, boil down.
Honorable Minister.
Yes.
I think I have the duty to tell him to cool down. I have the honor to tell you to answer the question.
I've apologized. Yes, I apologize. The chairman's monthly salary is 2,054,217. which makes an annual salary of 24,650,604. You don't have the amounts? Yeah, okay, so under statutory wages, Mr. Paul, I'll read the wages and then I'll go to the benefits and allowances, which is separate. Gunraj, well, the commissioners now, the 6 commissioners all receive the same, 478,485. And so that is the 6 commissioners, Mr. Gunraj, Mr. Trotman, Mr. Alexander, Mr. Corbin, Ms. Shadiq, and Mr. Narayan. The total being for the cost for 2021 would be $59,101,524. And then for allowances, sir, for the commissioners, telephone allowance for the chairman, duty allowance for the chairman, sorry. Yes. NIS, 46,224. The duty allowance is $4 That's per annum. Yeah, so what I'm doing now with the allowance is giving you the per annum rate, okay? Instead of the monthlies. I gave you the monthly salaries. Now I'm going to give you the annual contributions. That's for 6,000. Yeah, the employer's contribution is 46,224. Yes, the duty allowance is 4,368,000. Telephone allowance 648,000. Electricity allowance 960,000. Security allowance 7.2 million. Fuel allowance 240,000, totaling 13,462,224. The other commissioners get NIS contributions. These may be different based on the ages, Mr. Patterson, honorable member. Some that are over 60, 65, huh? Those that are over 60 are only paying 46,224, which is the same as the chairperson. The 2 younger members of the commission pay an NIS of 258,854. The duty allowance is the same for all the commissioners except the chairman of 1,008,000. Telephone allowance is same, 360,000. Yeah, for each commissioner, yes, of course. No electricity allowance, they get no travel allowance, no electricity allowance. Security allowance, they each get 7.2 million for security allowance. This is divided security, or did this? Mr. Patterson, the 7.2 for the commissioners for security can be in terms of the commission, the GCOM providing the security, or they choose their security and GCOM pays, but within that cap, the cap of that amount. So each of the commissioners would get, except Mr. Gunraj, because he's paying less, his NIS deduction is larger. Yeah, he pays for the employee deduction, so his is different in terms of the total. The 2 younger members of the commission get receive 9,066,854. The older members that are over 65 get 8,854,224. Mr. Sais Gunraj and Mr. Manoj Narayan. Those 2, all the others are over 65, the other 4. So the total for allowances and benefits, 75 million. And that's for the commissioners, chairman and commissioners.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would the Honorable Minister say to this House how much of that allocated sum is being paid to the CEO, the CEO, the returning officers, and how much is being used for security for the CEO?
Honorable Minister.
Yes. The question was to do, Mr. Honorable Member, with security. Is that correct? The security allowance or all the allowances?
Mr. Chair, I could not hear the Honorable Minister's query, but I will say again for the consumption of this House that I am kindly requesting of the Minister to say to this House how much of that allocated sum is being paid to the CEO, paid to the DCEO, paid to the returning officers, and how much of that sum is being used for security for the CEO.
Thank you, Honorable
Okay,
Minister.
the salary of the CEO from January to March this year is $3,500,659. The salary as of March to December 2020 was $14,702,765. The traveling allowance from January to March is $120,000. Entertainment allowance $360,000. Gratuity $787,648. Vacation allowance $1,458,608. Uniform allowance $120,000. The total for January to March 2021 is $25,052,026. Therefore, the security, I'll give you the security allowance in a minute or two. Those are to do with his allowances. And what about security? The security allowance, the security for the CEO, which the GCOM pays, is approximately $6 million per annum. Now, the question you asked about the DCEO. The DCEO, the salary is this is a salary, we are dealing with 2021 budget. We're dealing with 2021.
We have been going good. If honorable members want to engage in a shouting match, I'll ask you to leave the chamber. Honorable Chief Whip for the opposition.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, could the Honourable Minister please indicate of this sum, how much has been allocated for house-to-house registration for the compilation of the new voters list? And secondly, the Honourable Minister was kind enough to extract the monies that are there in those lines for the hosting of local government elections. But could you provide us with a total sum based on what you had just extracted? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Can I haven't finished answering Mr. Schuman's question because of the din in the place.
I'll allow you,
I'm not going to
Honorable Minister, I'll allow you to complete, I think, the Honorable Member, Mr. Schuman, because he is on my blind side. I didn't get to see him standing, but could you proceed with completing the answer for him and then answering the question for the opposition chief whip?
Yes, I will. Mr. Schuman, Honorable Member, asked about the salaries for the CEO and the DCO. I got as far as the CEO, but I didn't get further. So I'd like to complete the answer. He also asked about the returning officers, etc. So that for the DCO, the salary is, and this is catered in the 2021 budget, is, this is the salary, travel allowance of $240,000, entertainment allowance and rent of 1.6.
Honorable members, Ms. Ferguson and Honorable Member the Honorable Parliamentary Secretary, if you want to continue with the cross the floor shouting match, we can put you across the road outside of the... Honorable Ms. Ferguson, you didn't have the floor. Honorable Minister, please.
I'm asking you to protect me. Yeah, the Deputy Chief Elections Officer, to go back to Mr. Schuman's question, the annual salary is $6,056,512. The government pays the NIS of $258,854. Travel allowance and overtime, $204,000. Entertainment, etc. 1,608,000. Acting allowance of 483,888. Gratuity of 1,362,715. Vacation allowance of 865,216. Uniform allowance 120,000. Total salary per annum, or this year, it's budgeted for 16,523,601. The position of ACEO is vacant, and you budgeted for this one. And this is budgeted in the for 12,164,121 plus allowances. So that that it will come up to, with medical, etc., for these persons, it would come up to 33,465,997. To continue Mr. Schuman's question, the returning officers for the local government elections, it's approximately $140,000 per returning officer for the period where they work for approximately 2 months. And that total would be 19.6 million, Mr. Schuman. The returning officers for the municipalities, as distinct from the NDCs, this is 250,000, and they would get, the total would be 5 million. Would be for 10 people, and the one I read earlier would be for 70 people. Clerks to the returning officers would get 100,000, that's 16.6 million, that's 83 people. And clerical assistants to the returning officers, another 83 persons, they would get $85,000, and the total would be 7,055,000. So those are I think that is now answering your question. For Mr. Jones, honorable member, I don't mean any disrespect. I'm just trying to keep on top of everything. Not being disrespectful to my colleague, Mr. Jones, who, the total that I read out to you, sir, that to answer I think it was Mr. Jones' question, the total the numbers I call out comes up to $1.1 billion for local government elections.
The second question is how many of this, thank you, Commissioner Chairman. How much of this sum has been set aside for house-to-house registration to compile the new voters list?
There is nothing in the budget that has been prepared. There is nothing in the GCOM budget 2021. No provision has been made for house-to-house registration. That, I believe, would be a decision of the Commission. And if the Commission makes that decision and additional funds are required, we know what happens. They come back for supplementary to this House, and they would be granted it, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you, sir. Sir, the Honorable Minister of Local Government and Regional Development was kind enough to indicate in his budget speech that local government election is assured unto this nation this year.
Continue, Honorable Member.
And in keeping with that, I am asking a question pertaining to when will GCOM begin the process of advertising, educating, and training the staff for local government election, get the population aware, the awareness for local government election, and the procedure that will lead towards voting for local government election, so that we will not have an election like what happened on March 2nd, 2020.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
I'm advised that in the budget, the provisions that have been made for training is in their projections. They're looking at the third quarter of the year, depending on the decision of the Commission. They cannot act on their own without a decision of the Commission.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member and Chief Whip for the Opposition, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Minister, the CARICOM team had strongly recommended an investigation into the missing documents from those boxes. Is any of the sum allocated here caters for such an investigation based on the CARICOM team's recommendation?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
I'm advised that GCOM has placed no money in their budget for any investigation whatsoever.
Honorable Member, Ms. Jurita Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, under the program performance statement, indicator number 2 states publication of voters list for each area. This is something that is stated here that the government is using as an indicator to see that the money that they have put aside does what they intend for it to do. So I know the Honorable Minister just stood and said that if GCOM wants to look after a new list, they can do a supplemental, but it is stated here, sir, under the indicators, number 2, publication of the voter list for each area. So again, I ask, what proportion of this allocated sum is being allocated to achieve this objective that has been set out within this system of a new list, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chairman, I think the honourable member is mixing up a number of things. First of all, the voters list is published by the GCOM, and that would be done after a process of either registration, claims, and objections. That has nothing to do with a new house-to-house nor a new list. The money that has been put in the budget is for the publication of the voters list. And so it's in the indicators, and your side comment that the government wrote this. Each agency whose information is in here is prepared and drafted by the agency and gets published. So nobody's sitting and drafting for GCOM. GCOM has enough staff to be able to do it themselves. So, Mr. Speaker, the provision has been made for local government elections. I've already advised this House the total that the member here from GCOM advised me is $1.1 billion, specifically put aside for the local government elections. The issue of training, which was specifically asked, is also catered in the budget. And so the issue of the voters list, that will come when a decision is made. When the elections are called, the list will come out and go through a process of claims and objections and the final publication of the final voters list. And that is what GCOM has put monies in the budget for. Any other issues, that will be determined by the Commission, and therefore then, if there are consequences, to do with finances and they don't have the money, it would then end up back right here in this house where we, the members of parliament, would either have to approve or not approve. That is how it works.
Thank you,
Just
Honorable.
a follow-up, sir, if I may.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, we started this head at 1:59. We are now 2 minutes over. I'll give another 2 minutes because we've had some interruptions. Honorable Member, Ms. Fernandez.
Just for clarity, sir, to my understanding, what the Honorable Minister is saying, that the publication of voter lists for each area as is stated in here, just caters for the list being published as is, because there's no other indication that GCOM requires any money at this time. So this objective here is specifically for the list to be printed as is, if the Honorable Minister may.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Page 107, indicators. Number 1 indicator, elections are conducted. So number 1 indicator is elections are conducted. So what is ambiguous then about coming to number 2, which is publication of voters list for each area? You are affirming in the document, elections are conducted. So why are you making it seem as if there's ambiguity? You can't have elections unless there's a list. It's impossible. So the indicators, sir, are very clear. 1, elections are conducted, which is a commitment by GCOM, and that has been reaffirmed from the President down, that elections will be conducted, will be held. The publication of the voters list for each area has to be done for a claims and objection period to be held, and then the final voters list has to be done, so that you have a voters list. The issue of what kind of list, that's a different issue. That's not an issue for the budget right now. What we're dealing with is the process of local government elections. The third issue on the indicators is information is disseminated to the public. That's also catered for in the voters' education. So when you look at GCOM's budget, there's a commitment and provision of funds for local government elections. One of the points to do with local government elections, although I pointed out to Mr. Patterson that there are 1,700 polling stations versus 2,339 polling stations, is that there are 70 local authorities and 10 municipalities. So unlike when we do general elections, you would have the entire Region 4. You may have just the NDCs of Region 4 based on their boundaries, and also Georgetown. Or in other areas like Region 8, I think there's one NDC, one municipality, the same thing with Lethem. So it's a little bit different than doing the whole country. It is easier in terms and less expensive in terms of the number of stations, but it is more complicated in terms of voters' education because people don't always understand the boundaries of each of the local authorities, whether NDC or municipality.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I'll give the Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson, an opportunity to ask a question, and then I'll have to put the current and the capital expenditures. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
Sir, just a clarification, sir. When we were in the Committee of Business, we said, well, finished already, the extra time will come. And I know, sir, we particularly, sir, dispense of the two earlier agencies in what the people say lab time. Wasn't that our agreement in the business subcommittee?
That is.
So we support.
Honorable Member, I'm explaining to you, that is the understanding. The problem I have, we asked to come back at 1:15. We waited until 1:35 to recommence the session. And that is why at the beginning, I acknowledged that we all had a hearty lunch and we'll be energized to work faster. So, Honorable Member, yes, and the particular head started at 1:59. But go ahead, I will allow the questions because we still will only have a few minutes. Go ahead.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking for us to establish something, because the second day,
Yes.
in the Committee of Business, we said it out of extra time. The Teaching Service Commission and the Public Service Commission and GCOM, sir, was a half an hour each. That's an hour and a half. If, sir, you do the maths, even if we came back late, sir, we still have another half an hour, 3 o'clock, 2:30, and 1.5 hours is 3 o'clock, sir. I'm just trying to establish.
Honorable member, just let me check my notes, and then I will tell you, you're absolutely correct with respect to the principle of 1.5 hours for 3. Let me just check. We started at 1:35, so we should be able to conclude 1.5 hours, that is 3:05, right? So you actually now would have almost 30 minutes to do.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Chair, for the extra 30 minutes there. Sir, Madam, Mr. Chair, through you, Madam Teixeira, in your summation for the local government elections, I did not hear you mention the question of printing of ballot papers and money set aside for that. I assume that's an omission, or is that going to be done locally or overseas?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chairman, when I gave the figure for print and non-print materials, that included the ballot papers. So the 237,760,000, which I think was the first figure I gave you, that includes ballot papers. So that's print and non-print for that total.
Honorable Member, Ms. Sarabo Sally.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, can the Honorable Minister, well, a lot was said over the last 15 minutes on Elections Commission, but I would just like some clarity as to whether or not the Secretariat put together this budget without first getting advice from the Commission. Was there a separation when this budget was being prepared?
Honorable Minister.
I am advised, sir, that the technical persons developed the budget, and it was taken to the Commission at a meeting where it was adopted and approved and adopted.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Halley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, is continuing that same line. The Honorable Minister just stated that the Secretariat prepared the budget and it was confirmed at a meeting of the Commissioners. So am I then to believe that the Commissioners approved the budget without putting in line the recognition that a new voters list is necessary at this stage?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chairman, I cannot in my head see into the heads of the members of the Commission. All I can say is what I'm advised, that the Commission received the budget and that they had a presentation and they approved and adopted the budget. I cannot anticipate what were in their brains at the time when they made the decision.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Halley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, can the Honorable Minister, as far as I'm aware, the Commission is made up of representatives from various political parties, and there's also the Chair. So I am wondering whether or not the Commission, as it's going forward into new elections, noting what took place last year, and the fact that CARICOM actually stated that we need a whole new voters list, whether or not this was not taken into consideration when they were reviewing what the Secretariat would have brought to them as the budget for this year.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chairman, I repeat, that is not an issue that I can answer here. That is for the Chairman and the Commission. And therefore, that's an issue. If the opposition has a concern, they should go to the Chairman and the Commission. as not an issue that can be answered in this House under the budget.
Thank you very
And
much.
Mr. Chairman, the opposition has 3 commissioners who represent their interest. Certainly, I believe, knowing the 3 individuals as I do, that they're highly competent to raise their concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Honorable Member Ms. Halley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In light of the fact that the commissioners at GCOM, as I indicated before, comes from various political parties, I would like to ask the minister whether or not the PPP at this current time recognizes the CARICOM report which states that the new voters list is necessary before an election.
Honorable Member Ms. Halley, I'm just asking if you're a clarification, if the PPP or if it's the PPP government. So,
The PPP's government.
thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Guyana government, because we represent all Guyanese, not just the PPP. Mr. Speaker, there are many recommendations that came out of the elections, as I'm sure you know, from the Commonwealth report, from the observer of the OES mission, of the CARICOM, of the Carter Center. All of us need to look at those reports because there are recommendations in all of them, and not all the recommendations coincide. Some contradict. And so it is whether the honorable member is asking me to commit to one recommendation when there are about 30 recommendations made in all the international reports on those elections. I am not going to do it, madam. That is an issue for we as a people to look through and to also raise with GCOM. But there are other issues we have to raise with GCOM, which are concerns to us, which is to prevent any attempt in the future to ever hijack in elections.
Honorable Member Ms. Halley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, we can all agree that we should always prevent any rigging or anything of any elections. I don't think we have an issue where that is concerned. The issue, I think, is before us, Mr. Chair, is a recognition that there were obviously some issues in the last election. And if you look at all of the reports that came out, they said there was an issue with the voters list. And so if the Secretariat is preparing for a new local government election or any elections at this stage, one of the foundations has to be who is going to vote at that election. And so with that in mind, I'm asking whether or not the government is ready and willing to put our hands on that to ensure that there's a new voters list before we go to an election.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
Mr. Speaker, one of the recommendations in one of the reports says that criminal charges should be brought against people who are responsible for hijacking the elections.
Honorable.
Will the honourable member support us on that? Will the honourable member support us on that?
Okay, Honorable Minister, let us. I have an honorable member on the floor. I want to hear her. Honorable Member Ms. Halley.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I think this is something that needs to be understood and recognized by all of us here. We are here in this House because we were elected. Whether we say fairly or unfairly, we were all elected and we are here in this House.
Thank you.
And the people of this nation expect certain things when it comes to our election. And if it is that we are going to agree to go to a new election, there are certain foundation things that has to be set in place. The minister has not yet said that her government would agree to a new voters list before we get to local government elections. So can she commit to that?
Honorable Minister, I just wanted to get some clarification. I just wanted to get some clarification from the honorable member, Ms. Halley, or if you could provide it. I think the decision with respect to certain policies to be implemented by GCOM, isn't that for the commissioners and not
That's
for
what I
any
said
one side?
half an hour ago, sir.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, you want to answer what Ms. Ali just observed or respond to?
Mr. Chairman, I am not GCOM. Therefore, I cannot speak on behalf of GCOM on a policy matter. I am here as the conduit to deal with the budgetary request of the Guyana Elections Commission. That is what I'm dealing with. That is what I'm dealing with, sir. So this is not an issue. I am here as the messenger, the conduit to allow this discussion. The issue of lists and everything else, that's a discussion for this Parliament to have in the appropriate form, in the appropriate way, when that will be government and opposition discussing it. At this point, I am here to convey and to answer questions on the budget of GCOM. I said half an hour ago that the issue of a new voters list, which was asked of me half an hour ago, that is an issue that the commission, the chairman and the 6 commissioners will have to make a decision. And if they so desire more money, they will come to this house for a supplementary. And I finish with that. Asking me my opinion at this point is irrelevant, because that's not what I'm here for right now.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
But push it and I'll talk about criminal charges.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, Honorable Chief, if I'll come back to you. Go ahead, Mr. Patterson.
Yes. Mr. Chair, through you, can the Honorable Minister say in the budget of 237 million in print and on print, right, that she has there, how many ballots or voters is the Honorable Minister catering for, knowing that our last voters list was 300 and almost 690,000. Every year, sir, that we put on another 25,000, sir. So I want to know, and our population, of course, remains at 750. So how many ballots are the Honorable is the Commission catering to print for local government election vis-a-vis our population and our voters list?
Honorable Member, I just want to get clarity. Initially, you said the Honorable Minister is catering for, now you said the Commission. Thank you. Honorable Minister, please.
I'm advised that GCOM budgeted under print and non-print $760,000 for the publishing of 500,000 ballots, as the local government authorities make up approximately over 80% of the voting population.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I recognize first the Honorable Member and Chief Whip of the Opposition, Mr. Jones, and then the Honorable Deputy Leader. And I also want, again, in the last 36 hours, we had a good use of parliamentary language. I'm hearing all kinds of unparliamentary words now creeping back into the House. Honorable Member, Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Comrade Chairman. Follow-up to my colleague David Patterson's question. The answer given by the Honorable Minister that the Guyana Elections Commission is preparing to print some 500,000 ballots. The question is, how did the Guyana Election Commission arrive at this figure without a voters list?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Member Jones. I'm advised that they came up with a figure of 500,000 based on the 2018 local government elections, which was approximately the same. And there were no questions, as I remember, of anything to do with lists or results in the local government elections.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Deputy Speaker.
Honourable Mr. Chair, considering or in consideration of what transpired last year, would the Honourable Minister clarify at this point if there is any provision in the budget to pay the CEO to take an early exit so that we could have clean elections in 2021.
Honorable Minister. Honorable members, I don't think it's the prerogative of any one group to ask questions. Every single member is entitled. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As far as I understand, the honorable member, the budgetary provision has been made for a chief elections officer. If it is not the present, it still has money to pay for a new chief elections officer. So that from a budgetary point of view, the occupant of the post is not at this point right now, but that there's provision were the decision to be taken, as you are speaking, that the GCOM could fill the position as they have funds available to hire a new chief elections officer.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson. Then we have the Honorable Member, Ms. Sarabo Hali.
Sir, just Mr. Chair, I noticed that there's a photographer in here, right? And I don't mean to tell you, obviously you couldn't miss him. He has the flash on. First time we have you.
The observation, there's a photographer in here.
Yes, sir. What you said to all the other media is that you can't take any photos. You get
No, we didn't say we can't. We said we are honorable member. We are allowing two cameras from the press.
No problem, sir. I'm very photogenic. I don't mind. Huh? So that's not a problem, sir.
I think so, mine.
Mr. Chair, through you, the minister stated that for local government election that they're catering for 500 voters. She also stated that local government elections is 80% of our voters, sir. Sir, our last general elections was only about 450 persons voted. So I would like to ask the honorable minister, if you are catering for 500, sir, does not indicate, well, our last general election is 100% of our voters, was only 450. If, sir, that's not an indication that you're over catering and they're bloated numbers on the list.
Honorable Minister.
They have to cater for the preliminary voters list publishing and the voters list publishing. They have to make sure that every station has copies, the scrutineers have copies in the polling stations. That is what they're catering for print and non-print. The ballot papers, you are getting excited about 500,000, but you forget that there are spoiled ballots many times. You can't have an exact number of ballot per voter. Many times there are spoiled ballots that have that. In addition to that, as I said, I'm advised, and I underline the word advised, that it is GCOM that took the decision or has made the budgetary projections of 500,000 ballot papers. Ballot papers. Now, I want to also remind you that in the local government elections, you have constituency candidates and you have PR candidates. And each one is different. Each one is different in every NDC and every municipality. So I'm just reminding you of that. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member made a comment about me doing these ballot papers, or I having something to do with the number of the ballot papers. I am advised, I repeat, by GCOM, that GCOM's extrapolation and calculations of the publication of ballot papers has been done by their technical people. They're saying 500,000 based on the 2018 local government elections.
Thank you.
Follow up, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. I had recognized Ms. Halley. Ms. Halley has declined. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson, please.
Follow up, Mr. Speaker. Can the honorable member, Mr. Chair, can the honorable member ask the officials from GCOM? Sir, watching time, we have 10 minutes.
That's okay.
No.
Yes, we have 10 minutes. Yes. Can the honorable, Mr. Chair, can the honorable member inquire of GCOM, and she said that the 500,000 ballots that they are printing is based on the 2018 local government elections. Can the honorable member inform this House, sir, how many persons voted in the 2018 elections? That obviously, because that's what you said is the basis of calculating 500,000.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I don't have that information of the number of voters who voted in 2018 elections. I'm not here to answer anybody. I am the one on the floor answering. And I have a technical person there next to me. Don't tell me who's to run me.
Honorable Minister, thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I am asking for your protection in this place. The question asked about asking anybody outside of this place where we're questioning is unacceptable. I choose, as a person asked to conduct this, who I can have as my advisors. The man who's in charge is this gentleman. Who is telling me in this house who I must bring next to me? I am not going to do it.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. You're perfectly in order. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
Mr. Chairman, I'm repeating my question. The Honorable Minister said about 10 or 15 minutes ago that GCOM are using the 2018 election, local government election, which is said, if I can paraphrase correctly, the honorable member said that there was no issue whatsoever about the number of voters and those things in 2018 election. So I'm asking, sir, if you're catering for 500,000, how many persons voted in the 2018 election?
Mr. Chairman, I can't answer a question which was not in my head to come to this meeting to talk about. I'm talking about budget items. You have allowed the meeting to go other places. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I'm not prepared. Secondly, is that the 500,000 ballots which have excited these members so much, is that please remember, the voters list the number of ballots have to match the numbers on the voting list. Whether the people turn up or not, the list has to reflect that. And if you want to start discussing politics on this issue, let's talk. Because
okay, don't let's start discussing the politics, Honorable Minister.
Let's talk. Let's talk. Because, Mr. Speaker,
let's talk policies, Minister.
Beg your pardon?
Let's talk policies and leave the politics out.
This is what they say they're doing. So when I answer, it's politics?
Yes.
When they ask me, it's policy, and when I answer, it's politics?
Thank you.
Mr.
Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson, please. The Honorable Minister didn't come here with all the statistics from previous elections, and we are not sure whether her advisors have those at her fingertips. But what I understood was being said is that based on the participation of the electorate at the 2018 elections, they estimate that they can do 500,000 ballots for the upcoming local government elections.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. I know the honorable member and her team didn't come prepared. So less than 250,000 persons voted.
I won't say they didn't come prepared.
Google.
Hold on.
Google. Sir, so I'm asking...
They have come prepared to defend the allocation in front of them. Whether they are coming prepared with the past historic records, I can give that to you. I can go online right now and get it. Right? So, just as simple as that, I would have, and I know that you sit at the back and you do your Googling and you do your manzuring and you do your election research. And you do formulate excellent questions based on that fact. So let us defend or ask the question based on what's before us and listen keenly to
But
what is being said.
In all due respect, Mr. Chair, in all due respect, right? When I asked the initial question, the number of ballots, that was the position I'm giving. And I'm now saying that I'm using that as a historical basis. I'm saying that out of 500,000 would be double the amount of voters that voted in 2018. And I'm asking, is that the commission's position? Is the commission concerned?
So your record shows that
I'm asking through you, sir.
No, I thought you were
Commission
making...
concerned, sir, that the best use of money than if it's the financial, that you're printing in for 2021, double the amount of voters, right? That
No, but I just want to ask you, could you just cite me to the fact which says, honorable members...
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if you let me answer, because when I was trying to answer earlier.
I just want clarity for...
I want to answer Mr. Patterson.
You'll get a chance to. Honorable member, Mr. Patterson, I just wanted to ask if it was the fact that you're presenting that 250,000 people voted in the last local government elections. I was asking because it sounded like fact that you know definitively that 250,000 persons, well, we violent. So somewhere in that vicinity, you're saying voted. Thank you. Honorable Minister, you have an opportunity now. And please give the Honorable Minister the same respect that the Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson, had in asking that question. Microphone.
The 2018 elections had a voters list which has advised GCOM in regards to the number of ballot papers. The Honourable Member Patterson talking about the numbers voting is irrelevant in terms of the preparation of ballot papers. You have to have the number of ballot papers matching the numbers on the list. Whether the list is 100,000, 200,000, a million, it must correspond, because to under-produce ballot papers would mean that people would be denied the right to vote. So that's number one. Let me speak. That's number one. The second issue that Mr. Patterson has raised is the issue of the turnout in 2018 election. Unfortunately, Mr. Patterson, I can't help it if your voters didn't go out to vote. The point is they were on the list. So when you had in Georgetown 30-odd% turnout, a lot of it your supporters, if you can't mobilize your people to support, that's not GCOM fault. That's not the fault of the ballot paper production. That's the problem of the political parties. And so the voters list of 2018, regardless of whether it was 30% turnout, 50% turnout, or 70% turnout, you have to look at the list. The list, the first list, as I understand it, there will be a claims and objection. There'll be a period for people to check it. The list may go up, the list may go down. The court has already ruled in this country on the issue of taking names off the voters list. We've had a ruling since earlier in 2020. GCOM cannot be above the law and do what it like. It must obey the law. And the law says they cannot remove somebody unless the person produces a death certificate. Any other person on the list remains. And that is what the Chief Justice ruled in this country. And so we can't play around with these issues and make them political. The law says the following: the issue of the number of ballot papers can never be less than whatever the number is on the voters list. To do that would be treacherous, because it would mean that you'd be disenfranchising voters. So it's simple. This matter of 25% and 250 people turned out in 2018 is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. The list had more than 250,000 people, because we know that the turnout was low, particularly in your areas. That's why you lost the 2018 elections, because people are fed up with you.
Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson, if you follow up, if not, please.
No, I just wanted to follow up on the last statement whereby the member said that if you do not print enough, you would disenfranchise people. But I also want to ask her, the honorable member, if you print and they don't exist, if that does not allow for fake and dead and non-existent voters because you have excess ballots. I would like to address that.
Honorable Minister, it's an opinion. And I think there are standing orders with respect to opinion, but since it was asked, I will just give you an opportunity to respond.
Mr. Speaker, if the person doesn't vote, the ballot papers have to be returned. The ballot papers are dealt with, are produced overseas, they're returned here, they're checked by the commissioners, etc. If the ballot papers, there's a system in the ballot box, how the ballots that are not used are packed in the box to segregate them from, there's a whole issue of reconciliation. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that the honorable member is blowing smoke up, you know what, up the chimney. You know, we're dealing with the issue. The first issue was there money for local government? Yes, there is. So then the concerns that there wasn't money for elections, I think we have managed, GCOM and the government has managed to allay that. There's money in the budget. The second issue that is being raised was what are the areas that are provided for? We've answered that. So I think that we have answered the questions that are relevant to the budgetary issues to do with GCOM. The other issues to do with policy, that is an issue for the Commission, and other issues which political parties have in regards to elections will have to be fought out in Parliament and other areas, not at this point.
Honorable members, we are now at the time to stop, but we have had several small interruptions. I'll allow two other questions, the Honorable Deputy Speaker and the Honorable Opposition Chief Whip.
Mr. Chair, once again, in consideration, and I strenuously say this, and I will stress it, in consideration of what transpired in 2020, could the Honorable Minister say if there is allocation in there for support for local observers to ensure that the integrity of the votes to be cast in the upcoming elections, local government, is preserved?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
I'm advised, Honorable Mr. Schuman, that GCOM has made no provision in the budget regarding local observers.
And the Honorable Chief Whip.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Chairman, to the Honorable Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance, noting that the voters list expired, subject to correction, April 2020, and noting the numerous reports and recommendations from the bodies that observed the 2020 general and regional elections. My question to the Honorable Minister of Governance, are you worried or at all frightened to the fact that the Guyana Elections Commission, in the request for the 2021 budget allocation, has made no request for the commencement of house-to-house registration for the compilation of the new voters list? Are you worried and concerned as Minister of Governance?
Honorable Chief Whip, before the Minister answers that, if we make reference to Standing Order 20, contents of questions, the issue of, and J, a question shall not be asked for the purpose of obtaining an expression of opinion. So, we have a standing order on that. Honorable Minister, you want to make a comment on the comment?
You're tempting me, Mr. Jones. You shouldn't tempt me. Because what I am worried about, Mr. Chair, is not about the voters list. I'm worried about the kind of crookery and roguery that went on in GCOM in the last elections. And what I am worried about is the laws that need to be amended, the electoral reform, to ensure that what happened never happens again in this country.
Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 11, Guyana Elections Commission, Program 111, Elections Commission, current expenditure, forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 11, Program 111, Elections Commission, capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Honorable member, let me thank the minister and the staff of GCOM for taking us through this particular agency. Honorable members, please allow the minister to get the staff together for the Supreme Court. Minister, you want to use the others? You want to use the other station, Honorable Minister, or you prefer to stay there? Honorable Minister, you want to use the other station, or you want to stay? Thank you. Well, just switch the chairs out. Just give. Please just give the staff an opportunity to get the stations ready. We wouldn't start the clock running. The Supreme Court. Honorable members, we will start the clock rolling at 3:13. Honorable members, I now propose the question, and we're at page 414 and 415. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 55, Supreme Court, Program 551, Supreme Court of the Judicature, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. And I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 55, Supreme Court, Program 551, Supreme Court of Judicature, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. And I didn't notice the Deputy Speaker, so let me just propose the question again. Honorable Deputy Speaker, please.
Honorable Chair, would the Honorable Minister I noticed that there's a lump sum there's no breakdown. Would the Honorable Minister say if there is provision within that lump sum for the change of designation from acting Chief Justice to substantive Chief Justice?
Mr. Chair, the acting Chief Justice and
Honorable
acting
Minister,
Chancellor.
yes. Go ahead.
Sorry?
I was just saying, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The acting Chief Justice and the acting Chancellor are already paid an acting allowance, although they are not substantially, they're being paid the difference of the salaries, although they are not confirmed as Chancellor and Chief Justice. The issue of the Chancellor and Chief Justice is an issue in accordance with the Constitution between the President and the Leader of the Opposition.
Honorable members, I didn't take a decision on putting the question, so I heard a little comment about, yes, I did put the question, but we didn't have a decision. So I now put the question that the sum for Agency 55 Supreme Court, Program 551 Supreme Court of Judicature, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Can we now turn to page 668? And I propose a question that the sum stated for Agency 55, Supreme Court, Program 551, Supreme Court of the Judicature, capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 55, Supreme Court, Program 551, Supreme Court of the Judicature forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. We thank the Honorable Minister and the staff of the Supreme Court for taking us through that agency.
No, they have to pass it. Mr. Speaker, did you deal with capital?
Yes.
Oh, you dealt with it
668,
already?
just did.
Okay.
Yes. We already put and had a decision, Honorable Member. I will have to move this water out of the way, and we have the issue of the monitor that is causing a little blind side also. Sorry, Honorable Member, Ms. Ferguson. Honorable members, we started this, we completed the last, not this one, the Elections Commission 311, and there was an hour for the Supreme Court and the DPP. So we can go for these two heads up to at least 4:12. Honorable members, let's give the Honorable Minister a chance so that the DPP staff could come in place. Thank you. Thank you, honorable members. We now turn to pages 418 and 419. And I propose the question that the sum for Agency 56, Public Prosecutions, Program 561, Public Prosecutions, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Would the Honorable Minister kindly relay to this House how much of the allotted sum will be used for the prosecution of those who attempted to steal democracy last year.
Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister.
Yes, under other goods and services, 34 million in the budget relates to legal fees for election matters and other matters that are before that the chambers is addressing. They also have outstanding payment for legal fees for election 2020 criminal matters. And so they have 34 million put aside, Mr. Schuman, for the cases regarding the elections 2020.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would the Honorable Minister relate to this House how many people are owed from the previous election challenge 2020?
Honorable Minister.
Right, thank you. The total for the election cases in 2020 is $48 million. They paid in 2020 $14.6 million, and the balance will be paid this year of $34 million.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 56, Public Prosecutions, Program 561, Public Prosecutions Current Expenditure, forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, can we now turn to page 668? Sorry, 669. 669. Yeah, this was one where my finger touched the keypad and the page came back down. Honorable Member, Mr. Duncan. It was a mistake. Honorable members, I put the question that the sum stated for Agency 56, Public Prosecution, Program 561, Public Prosecutions, Capital Expenditure forms part of the estimates. Honorable Member, Ms. Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I recognize the sum of line item 2560700, public prosecutions. They intend to spend a sum of $28 million towards the procurement of equipment and also construction of buildings. I noticed in the profile legend outlined here, there is no detailed information with regards to how the 28 million will be expended. Can the honorable member provide a disaggregation as against the buildings to be constructed, the amount, and also the type of equipment to be procured. That's two. Thirdly, where exactly the equipment will be assigned, and also which buildings are expected to be either renovated or constructed. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Yeah, the building works, Madam Ms. Honorable Member Ferguson. It's expansion of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. This is the Western Wing upper flat they have to do that for $3 million. Expansion of the storeroom below the office building as they run out of storage area and so forth. That's estimated $500,000. They also have quite a number of issues to do with software and electronic items. Case closed software, $7 million. This is to do for the office to have the reliability of an effective, efficient, and organized electronic filing system. Right now, their software system is unreliable, if not defunct. The labor laptops, they have 20 laptops for staff that is needed, as a lot of their computers are getting old, and that they're also using their laptops for video conferencing. And so and court hearings are now also in a number of places virtual, so they need to have their laptops in order to work virtually. This is for the staff of the DPP's office. Desktop computers, 7 that will be needed as a number of replacements, as they need to replace damaged systems and to cater for the employment of new staff once they have the expansion of the building. In terms of equipment, they have Unify access router that they need to have 4 of them, 48 port Ubiquiti, gigabyte switch, please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it, gigabyte switch that they need to improve the network speed and connectivity of the additional workstations. Full top desktops, they need 1 UPS bypass switch that they need to be able to get because they have been suffering from blackouts and the damage of power surges to their equipment, even though they have UPSs. So this is apparently something that will save them a lot of grief, mainly grief. So $860,000 for that. 20 kVA, kilowatt ampere stabilizer, 2.3 million, again, to deal with power surges. Surveillance cameras, 400,000. A Google platform, which is $1.4 million, that's needed to upgrade the office's email services, so they're working in a more modern world. Computer accessories and components. These are things that the office needs. SSD hand drive, 10 of those at 30,000 each. Computer RAM, 15, and they need 15 of those at 10,000 each. Tools for the IT department, they're budgeted for 150,000 to do with the maintenance and repairs of computer hardware components and physical network infrastructure. They also have other items under this head of APC battery backups, 12. They need paper shredders, 7. Multifunctional laser printer, 1. Bookshelf, 6. Filing cabinets, 6. Filing cabinets, 2 drawers, 6. And filing cabinets, 4 drawers, 4. Executive chairs, L-shaped desk, 4. Air conditioning units, 7. Water dispensers, 2. Lamps that are used mainly in Essequibo and Berbice, criminal Azizes, that are constantly experiencing power outages. So this is to help the 2 state councils that are in Berbice and Essequibo. And then the office carpet, almost finished. We have a motorcycle 1 at 500,000 for delivering mails and documents which have to be filed and served at specific times. and 10 pounds CO2 fire extinguishers. They need 3 at 65,000 each. That brings up the total of $28,000.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member Ms. Ferguson, you want a clarification? Thank you very much. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 56, Public Prosecutions, Program 561, Public Prosecutions, Capital Expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now forms part of the estimates. Thank you, Minister, and thank you to the staff of the Supreme Court. Honorable members, we can now turn to, sorry, I said the Supreme Court, the Public Prosecutions Office. Thank you to the staff. Honorable members, we can now turn to pages 422 and 423, the Office of the Ombudsman. Staff of the Office of the Ombudsman will now join us. 422 and 423. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency, sorry, I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 57, Office of the Ombudsman, Program 571, Ombudsman, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. And I now put the question on, sorry, Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Thank you, sir. Sir, can the Honorable Minister say how much of this lump sum is towards electricity charges?
Honorable Minister.
$3,473,000. And if you look maybe at the Appendix T on page 860, Mr. Mayapol, it'll give you a better breakdown than the lump sum. So if you go to the Appendix T, page 860.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mayapol.
Sir, if my memory serves me correctly, when we were considering the Police Complaints Authority, the Honorable Minister indicated that the Police Complaints Authority, the Ombudsman, and another office is occupying there, and they are. I'm trying to recollect if they're sharing the electricity charges or if they're separate meters there.
Thank you. The Police Complaints Authority has its own meter and pays its own electricity. The other occupants in the building, PSAT and Ombudsman, for example, share the cost of the building. We have a co-sharing, and PSAT, that's Public Service Appellate Tribunal, and the Bar Association. They have a co-sharing with the electricity, and the PSAT pays for the water for the whole building.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Sir, may I ask how many staff are attached to the Ombudsman office?
Honorable Minister.
There are 7 persons, including the Ombudsman.
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Sir, of the 7, how many are contracted employees?
Honorable Minister.
1 person is a contracted employee, that's the typist clerk.
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Sir, may I ask the age of the typist clerk, please?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chairman, it would be remiss of me as a person who has to also look at our human rights issues to also not start and encourage an ageism prejudice in our country. The person is 41 years old, but I think as a parliament, we cannot be dealing with such discriminatory tones I'm hearing coming out of this parliament to do with age.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I was about to make the caution because somehow I felt that things were even targeting to the chair. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Sir, permit me to assure you and assure the Honorable Minister that the reason for asking for the age is that if the person is below the age of 44, I will ask if there's any interest or any action on the part of the organization or the Office of the Ombudsman to at least guarantee that staff some level of salary, of assurance of tenure by way of putting the staff on the Public Service Commission. That is the whole emphasis of asking the age and nothing to do with ageism or whatever the Honorable Minister would have.
Thank you, Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
So again, sir,
I just want to ask our members, as we have said, let's stay away from names. Let's also stay away from age. It's all good intention, all very good intention, but sometimes we have to deal with the sensibilities of people who are collecting public service pension. And then we have to deal with the people who are collecting the NIS pension, which is 60, and then the old age pension, which is 65, and yours truly falls in all three. So let's stay away from the sensitivities of age. Thank you. Honorable Minister, you want to respond?
Just to advise the honorable member that under this government, the public servant, a person hired into the public service, have a choice. New recruits are being on contract or on the fixed establishment. They could choose. So we do not have the system which was in the previous government that you gave contracts to who you wish to give contracts to, and you made public servants who are on contract become public servants. That is over. And so any new recruits into the public service have a choice. Would they like to be on contract, getting gratuity, or would they like to go on a fixed establishment where they'll be able to accumulate pension? And so the choice now is up to the persons who are being hired.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Thank you, sir. Sir, that answer, I must say, provides a great clarity to a number of questions that would have come in further examination. So I'm happy for that answer. It shows the change of policy between the coalition and the PDP government.
But I thought the Honorable Minister of the Public Service also expressed that when she made her presentation.
Sir, she wasn't clear to me. Sir, nonetheless, if I may ask, are there any of these 7 staff that are performing additional duties, acting in capacities higher than the office they are employed under? And if there are any that are receiving a duty allowance for additional duties?
Honorable Minister?
Yes, the office assistant is having responsibility allowance, and the acting assistant accountant is receiving an acting allowance as a chief accountant, in the place of a chief accountant.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson. Honorable Member, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 57, Office of the Ombudsman, Program 571, Ombudsman current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, we can now turn to page 670 capital expenditure. And I propose a question that the sum stated for Agency 57, Office of the Ombudsman, Program 571, Ombudsman, Capital Expenditure, forms part of the question. I propose the question. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahito.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I see the Honorable Minister watching me and laughing, so I figure she knows that I'm going to ask for a breakdown of the project code 25000600.
Honorable Minister.
It's 1,625,000. It includes 4 executive chairs for the Ombudsman, accounts, and secretary. 4-drawer metal filing cabinet at 255,000. 24,000 BTU AC units, 2 of that for 520,000 for the admin office and the Ombudsman office. Refrigerator, 1 for the accounts department. Heavy duty printer, 300,000 for the use by the secretary to the office. Office desk, 1, $55,000 for the confidential secretary. Binding machine, 50,000 for the general office use, totaling $1.625 million for the office of the Ombudsman. This is a very modest budget.
Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 57, Office of the Ombudsman, Program 571, Ombudsman, Capital Expenditure, now forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, we can continue. I don't know if the staff is ready for the Public Service Appellate Tribunal. If they're here, I would suggest we continue. Some members have said to me it's very difficult to eat a hearty lunch at 1 and then come back for a hearty dinner at 4.
But it would be nice to have a break when you're doing this for several hours.
Thank you. So the staff of the Public Service Appellate Tribunal is in place. Let me thank the staff of the Ombudsman Office for assisting us through the last agency.
Mr. Speaker, I
Just-
collect crave your indulgence, please, before we get to the next item. Mr. Speaker, I
Honorable
was-
the Opposition.
Yes, please. I just wish to bring to your attention the fact that over the last week or so, we've had 2 instances in which computers were stolen from industry.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition, we are going to be addressing some developing issues in
Thank
the
you very
House.
much. But
Right.
finally, Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that a few minutes ago,
Honorable
A
Leader of the
member of-
Opposition, I am now, like you, receiving some information with respect to incident that happened shortly.
yes, I understand, please. but I'd
So,
like
could you please acknowledge my authority
Yes,
to
sir.
continue with this head? Thank you very much.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable members,
Mr. Speaker, I
honorable
just wish to
members,
say that
we are in committee.
Yes.
We are in committee of supply.
Mr. Chairman, in the circumstance, we would not take part any further in the committee's work. We're finished. That's it. We're not.
Mr. Speaker,
I can't even speak. Thank you. You're assaulting people and all of that. Oh,
Honorable members, I now propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 58, Public Service Appellate Tribunal, current Program 581, Public Service Appellate Tribunal. Current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Honorable members, Honorable Chief Whip for the opposition, honorable members, if you want to leave, there is a protocol of leaving the House in decorum. Honorable members, I propose the question again that the sum stated for agency 58, Public Service Appellate Tribunal current expenditure, Program 581, Public Service Appellate Tribunal forms part of the estimate. And I now put the question that the sum stated for agency 58, Public Service Appellate Tribunal, Program 581, current expenditure, forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Honorable Member Ms. Ferguson, but we will have to have somebody move a resolution against you. The total disrespect. There's the appropriate time, honorable members, to do that, but I strongly insist that it be done. Honorable members, we will now, let's thank the Honorable Minister and the staff of the Public Service Appellate Tribunal for taking us through that agency. We will now move on to pages 430 and 431.
Mr. Speaker, we have not put the PSAT budget to the House for approval. Even if there's no question, it still has to be put to the House.
We did.
No.
I proposed it and I put it.
Well, I regret that I didn't hear it because of all the noise.
Yes, I proposed it twice and I put it. Sorry, Honorable Minister. Yes, there was a lot of enthusiasm in the House. So can we have the staff of the Ethnic Relations Commission, if they are here? Thank you. I now propose a question that the sum stated for Agency 59, Ethnic Relations Commission, Program 591, Ethnic Relations Commission, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. I now propose the question. Honorable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could the Honorable Minister tell the Committee of Supply what is the size of the staff at the Ethnic Relations Commission, and also what is the salary scale, benefits and allowances of the commissioners?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
stipend. Yeah, there are 13 members of staff at the Ethnic Relations Commission with positions such as Chief Executive Officer, Secretary, Finance Officer, Legal Officer, Head Media Monitoring Unit, Admin Officer, Head Public Education and Awareness Unit, Head Investment Unit, Assistant Finance Officer, Investigative Officer, there are 2 of those, Program Officers, 1, 2, 3, 5 Program Officers, Special Assistant to the Chairman, another Investigator Officer, Senior Accounts Clerk, Videographer. You have 4 people in the Media Monitoring Unit, Admin Assistant, Accounts Clerk, Driver, etc., telephone cleaner. So the totals for the staff, the cost of the staff, honorable member, outside of the commissioners, it's 80,518,416, an average monthly of 6,709,868. They also receive allowances and so on. The commissioners of the ERC, there are 10 members, including the chairman and vice chairman. The chairman receives 379,070, plus a traveling allowance of 9,504. The deputy chair receives $199,857,000, $199,857, and the traveling allowance is $6,336. All the other commissioners receive $119,772, and this is the monthly amount, the total being $1,537,103 per month, a grand total of $18,445,236 on a yearly basis, so that you have the figures of 80-odd million for the 30 staff plus the commissioners. And the other commissioners apparently receive the non-voting members of the commission. As you recall, Mr. Chairman, the commission is made up of 1 rep from the other commissions, Women and Gender, Rights of the Child, Indigenous People, and those 3 persons get an allowance, a small stipend of a duty allowance of $5,000 each. And these are the non-voting members of the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, Honorable Member. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that answer and clarity. Mr. Chairman, could the Honorable Minister tell the Committee of Supply what is intended to purchase on the line item here, goods and services purchase, for 2021 for the Ethnic Relations Commission? And also, Mr. Chairman, the Minister can say when the Ethnic Relations Commission will expire, or has it been expired? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
This would include, Honorable Member, security services, equipment maintenance, cleaning, extermination, and other. And the other would include expert services, extra or expert professional services that the organization might need, including in 2021, where they have taken legal, they've had to take legal lawyers to do with prosecution of cases. In addition to operate other goods and services, this includes national events, of 400,000 and another other, which in normal budget would be 6294, but in this it's a lump sum. It includes 18,737,892, which includes a number of interventions. Some of the money has been apparently spent because it had savings last year for strategic mission and a plan, as well as including this the what you call national conversation, as well as under this head what it was called by the chairman, blessings for the staff at the end of the year. And in that too is a subvention to do with training, and that would include the strategic retreat for the development of a 5-year strategic plan for the commission, and of course rates and taxes to the city hall, which is 600,000 for the building in Queenstown and Irish Street.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in light of an incident that happened a few minutes ago involving one of our members of
Honorable Member Mr. Jones.
The
Honorable Member Mr. Jones, could you please ask a question to this? I'll finish this head. I'll ask for a suspension. We will hear the comments that happened, and then we will reconvene in an hour. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we have 18 members of Parliament who are standing. 18 members of Parliament who are standing on the feet, sir, and in keeping with the standing orders, we must be heard.
Not in the committee. That's not how it works, by the way.
Honorable members, we are in Committee of Supply.
Why don't talk? You don't talk. You don't talk.
Honorable Chief Whip, as I said, we have the same standing order that was consulted, SO 12. We're in Committee of Supply. We have to leave Committee of Supply after this to go back to the Assembly. And then when we revert to the Assembly, the 18 members can stand and will be heard. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, this matter is not a light matter, sir, and we do request that the House be reconvened.
I'm dealing, sir, let us conclude. We're in Assembly. I'm ruling that we complete this head and resume the Assembly. This is speaking to the Assembly.
Mr. Speaker, we refuse this matter. It's not a light matter. A female member of Parliament was physically assaulted by Mr.
Honorable Chief Whip, I'm asking you, sir, to allow us to complete. Honorable members, for suspension.